Welcome, everybody, to the first ever Crowd Control Town Hall.
Hi. Hi, everyone.
Hello. I'm xwater and joined by the wonderful Moni over here. Moni, what's the plan for today? What do we got going on?
Hi, Miki. How are you first?
Well,
How are
I'm
you
great. I'm
today?
great. I've been playing a lot of Pokemon. I'm excited for any potential crowd control releases involving that realm of gaming. Not to spoil too much, but I know there's some things in the pipeline. So those got me excited. But apart from that, I'm ready for the holidays. I'm gearing up to do my own crowd control session soon. So I'm excited to show everyone my thought process in how I go about pricing those. Because, I've been doing them since crowd control became crowd control.
I'm so excited. I think, honestly, I'm super glad we were able to put this town hall together because during the last few months, I think that's one of the questions that we get a lot. Like, how do you price correctly? How to maximize interactivity? So I think it's super cool that we were able to get together to show this to the users and to you, for you to kind of understand, like, what Mickey as an ambassador and as one of our top performing streamers, what goes through his mind when he's trying to set these up. So I'm
Top
super
performer. That's right. That's right.
so yeah, I'm just super excited, and also just to connect with the community. We definitely need to get more together with our community to just kind of chat and learn more from you guys. So yeah, so today, basically, kind of the run of the show is well, first off, you have the amazing hosts here, me and xwater, but then after that, we're gonna be joined by Jaku, who's gonna be talking a little bit more about crowd control. Our growth in 2022, where we're going, which should be super exciting with Crowd Control 2.0 right around the corner. He'll chat about that. Then we'll jump into the pricing session with xwater, who's going to do a full-on deep dive on pricing. And then at the end, we're going to be doing a Q&A. So we did put out a tweet earlier.
Sorry. Sorry about that.
We did. I didn't see anything. We're going to Jaku leak. Shout outs to the Twitch chat. And then to wrap everything up, we're gonna do a Q&A. We did put out a tweet asking for questions, so you still have time to put those there. But we'll also grab some of the questions from chat whenever we get there. Does that sound good?
That's a great plan of attack. I'm excited, especially for the Q&A. I want to see what kind of stuff people throw at us. So I know a couple of them on Twitter have been a little past my scope. So I'm glad Jaku's going to be joining us for that.
Cool. So yeah, I think we're ready to pass it on to Jaku for his little chat.
All right, Jaku, you have the floor. Jaku, I think you're muted. Or just your mic.
Yes.
There you go.
Hello. It is I, Jaku, CEO, founder of Crowd Control. Chat muted me. It wasn't me. I know there's been a lot of speculation on what this talk's going to be.
Hold on. I'm so sorry. I'm fixing it. I broke something.
Oh no. Chat.
It happened. There we go. You're back to
chat control. Okay, I'm back. Well, it's great because you almost ruined the unveil of my letter C.
Wow.
But, wow. I fit right in it. No, what I really want to do is thank everyone that's been with us from the start of Crowd Control. Crowd Control is probably the best way for your viewers to interact. We've been doing it for around 4 years now. We launched with only support for 3 games. And as of today, we have just over 100 games and a lot more coming. So those that stuck with us at the start and just wanted to try us out when we only had 3 games, thank you so much. Your support and enthusiasm really helped get us where we are today. And so without you, we don't know where we'd be. For those that came later and or just joining us now, welcome. We're very excited to have you here and can't wait to get to know you. So yeah, as I mentioned, we've been growing quite a bit. We started as a fairly small company. We've grown a lot over the last 4 years, not only as a company, as a team, but as a software service. We first launched Crowd Control, again, 3 games. What we did at the time, though, we had a lot of ideas around what we thought Crowd Control could be. When we first hit the drawing boards in late 2017 or 2018, we were like, how is this going to work? And over the years, as new features came out on Twitch and even new streaming platforms like YouTube emerged, we had to rethink a lot of those early decisions. So I'm proud to say that in 2022, we spent a lot of time going back to that drawing board and taking all the lessons learned, the good and the bad, and we started working on what we're calling Crowd Control 2.0. You may have already seen some of those features in the current Crowd Control application, such as advanced pricing, which I'm sure Mickey's going to get into later. But also, some of the other features such as the overlay and the dashboard, giving you more insight into what's happening on your stream and giving you customization options on that overlay so your viewers can, see what's going on and also have it still fit into your theme of your stream. It's really important that, overlays like that can match your own stream style, because otherwise it's going to kind of like, I don't know, just look weird. So, we really wanted to focus on that sort of stuff. And then, also in 2022, we launched Crowd Control Pro, a subscription service that allows viewers to or streamers to have more flexibility with crowd control features. We're not locking anything. Everything's still accessible. Just it opens up more flexibility in there. That's one of the big things that we always try to sustain with our services. How do we weigh the goods and bads on that sort of stuff? But one of the big things that we all strive to do as streamers is gain subscribers, whether you're doing it for your full-time job or you're doing it as just a hobby and you want to take that money and put it back into your community. Just like you, we do the same thing with Crowd Control and Crowd Control Pro. By subscribing to Crowd Control Pro, you really help support us, not only monetarily, but also by showing that you support us. And so it's a great way to get benefits. And it really helps us out a lot. Like, you'd be surprised. So thank you to all the current and future subscribers. You guys are awesome. And then again, 2022, we built quite a bit. There's a lot of stuff that you guys haven't even seen yet. We have a lot of things planned for 2023. We hope that you continue to enjoy the current offerings we have now, but also that, be super excited for what's coming in 2023, even those of you that are on YouTube. So finally, I want to give a big thanks to the team. We have many team members that you might not even know about. They're all behind the scenes for the most part, but every single team member we have at Crowd Control believes in what we're doing, and we have all the same goal of making it the best experience possible for you all. And so without them, I wouldn't be able to be here talking to you, and I can't thank them enough. So yeah, again, thank you everyone for being here. I really hope you enjoy this town hall. It's one of the biggest questions we get asked all the time around pricing. And so I hope this helps a lot. And I hope you're ready to learn, because you can go back and update your streams and hopefully kick ass at it. So again, thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Moni and xwater. Take it away.
Take it away, we shall. All right. Perfect. That was Jaku, CEO, handsome model, I believe is his second gig, but he wouldn't tell you that. It's part of his secrets.
Yeah, it's super exciting to see kind of how Jaku mentioned, like, yeah, 2022 was definitely a year of going back to a drawing board, kind of assess all of the tools that we had developed and how they look in a growth scenario. And outside of Twitch too, kind of with the streaming space kind of evolving. So yeah, it's just super exciting, and Crowd Control 2.0 is literally right around the corner. Literally. So,
Yeah.
literally. So it's just becoming very real and very exciting for all of us. And if you love Crowd Control now, I am sure that you're gonna like extra love it when 2.0 is here. So yeah.
For sure.
I mean, I don't know, xwater, if you have anything else to add here, or we could just go straight into the pricing session.
Yeah, no, I mean, we'll be back together as a family for the Q&A, but like we're saying, Crowd Control 2.0, it is going to really ramp up a lot of the things that Crowd Control already does and amplify the success of those things that it's doing. And I think one of the things it's going to do the best is help users understand and more effectively like navigate that pricing and points and coins menus and really have an easier time doing all that. And I think that's probably the hardest part for streamers. So this is where I'm jumping in today, is to give you all a walkthrough of how I go through and my thought processes and logic on how to price my crowd control session. So yeah, Moni, if you've got nothing else, I'll take them on over and we'll do a little dance. We'll price out some stuff and have some fun.
Heck yeah. Take it away, Vicky.
All
I'll see you soon.
righty. See you in a bit. Yeah. All right, all right. Well, here we are. This is my desktop, and as you can see, we got a couple of swimming monkeys down there, but they're not important. We're not doing a Donkey Kong Country crowd control stream today. We are doing a Mario 64 crowd control stream, and if you'll excuse me, I got to reopen this because I was in charity mode, but I switched that out for this. So let's go ahead and just reopen crowd control. There we go. All right. So before we jump into anything with Mario 64, the first thing we got to talk about is Crowd Control Pro and coins and channel points. There's a good chunk of things you need to understand before jumping into pricing your first session. I think the first one is, how do my free coins work in my stream? And even before that, how do coins work in my stream, period? So every coin that your users spend, they obtain in one of a couple of ways. And you have a lot of control as to how that happens. But the primary way is they exchange their bits to coins in a 1-to-1 ratio. So they change 100 bits, they get 100 coins. They get a bonus if they change, 1,000 bits at a time. They'll get a few more coins in the style of, you put a bit more in, you get a bit more back. So this is really important to start pricing your crowd control so you know exactly how many coins everyone is going to have to work with before they spend a penny, a bit, anything. So with Crowd Control Pro, you have the capability of adjusting your free coin tiers, as I'm doing right here, right? You can see I can go up to 150 for the free coins, 100 for the sub coins at 1, 200 for the sub coins at tier 2, 300 for the sub coins at tier 3, and there's this free coin refresh, which we'll talk about in just a little bit. So the free coins are important to really giving your audience a chance to understand crowd control, to sample it, to see what it is. Think of them as the free samples as you're walking around Costco. Costco doesn't give out those free samples because of the kindness of their heart. They give them out to you because they know that they have a good product. And if you try the product, you're going to go, oh man, that little shrimp quiche was really delicious. I'm going to buy those. That was great. That was awesome. It's the same logic over here. You're going to give away anywhere between 50, 100, up to however many coins. And your viewers are going to be able to use those to do something that is going to make them think, ooh, crowd control, this is sick. So remember that's the key. Your free coins need to match something that your users can do, your viewers, at a level where they can then do that effect for that price that is going to make them feel impressed with crowd control. The free coin refresh is a pro feature only. I think it is the best thing that has happened to Crowd Control Pro since it was invented. Basically, what this means is that every 30 minutes in my settings, but you can see you have a couple of options here. Every 30 minutes, your users can get another batch of free coins. So they get their 50. 30 minutes later, they get another 50. 30 minutes after that, they get another 50. And by doing that, you not only give your users a reason to go back into the extension and click again, but you also give yourself an absolutely free call to action for reminding your viewers. Every 30 minutes, you can remind your viewers, it's been 30 minutes, your free coins are refreshed. Click on that app, and that gives you a chance to explain to your viewers that, hey, if you haven't clicked yet, get your free coins now. In the next 30 minutes, you're going to get another batch. So the sooner you get those free coins, the more often or the sooner you're going to be able to get a refresh on those free coins for yourself. And I think the fact that it gives you a call to action for the streamer that's not awkward. A lot of people have a hard time fitting those call to actions into their stream. This is a very, very smooth, stress-free, natural call to action, as well as being massively beneficial for the viewer and for yourself if your goal is to obviously do crowd control to bring in a bit of revenue, which is the motivation with how I'm pricing out my session today. So going down from there, you have the channel point conversions. When I'm pricing, I like to play around with these. So right now, I have none enabled for now, and I'm going to keep it that way. This is something you can experiment with for your first round of crowd control sessions. Maybe you use it, maybe you don't. If you're experienced, you play with it. But you have all these variations of your crowd control channel point conversions rates. So 100 channel points for one coin is what I had mine set to, but I currently have them disabled, and you have all these various options. This is a great way to give your audience another way to jump in without spending any of their own money, any of their bits. gives them a really easy way to sample crowd control. But I think with the free coin refresh and the free coin tiers that we have here, that gives them a great way to jump in. And I'll show you in just a second how I do let them use channel points in a meaningful way that I think is maybe a little bit more beneficial for my stream. I'm sure everyone has their own way of seeing it, but I think that it is a little cleaner and easier for new viewers who haven't seen crowd control to digest. So recapping, free coin setup, an essential part. If you don't have Crowd Control Pro, these will be locked into a set of values. They will still be there, but you won't be able to do the free coin refresh. For that reason alone, I recommend checking out Crowd Control Pro, but there are more that I'll go into. And then the channel point conversions, I believe those are available without Crowd Control Pro, but some of the more advanced settings will require Crowd Control Pro to be there. Jumping back over, we're going to go to the game selection screen. I've already got everything configured with the game and all that, but I will be jumping into the pricing menu here, and I'm going to reset my menu back to everything being their default values. So let me make sure I'm not blocking anything with my big camera in the corner here. I'm going to dismiss that error without reading it. I know the team is yelling at me for that, but that's okay. All right, so this is the Super Mario 64 Crowd Control Pack. Now, I'm very familiar with it, so I don't need to jump in and test it, but if you're doing a crowd control, the first thing you want to do is understand these effects, and I'm going to unveil all of the ones we have here. A lot of them, I know there's a lot to see, but a lot of them are pretty straightforward. The add, remove stars section, you can see add or remove all the stars from particular levels, add one random star, take away one random star. There's a lot of options. Looks a little overwhelming, but they're all batched in a little folder. You can do whatever you like with these. I'm going to hide them for now. You have the bid war for the player model. This is another one of the effects where you have a lot of options, but they're all for the same thing. Whichever one is in the lead in the bid war, whichever one has the most bits contributed towards it or channel points, will be able to, that will be Mario's sprite or his player model. And then these are don't worry about those. You shouldn't see those. So let's jump into the pricing over here. The first thing that I'm going to do is remember my free coin price, right? 50 coins. 50 coins is my free coin price. This is my key principle to a successful crowd control session. You want 1 to 3 solid, highly visually meaningful effects at that price tier. You want 2, maybe 3 things in that range where people can use their 50 free coins to try that effect. I think 1's a good place to start and maybe have a second one at 100 so that if they bank their free coins from the first try, the second try, if they're a subscriber, they have a few additional free coins. They can then use a little bit of a higher impact one. But I think that having 1 at 50 is very key. And for me, there's a lot of good ones in Super Mario 64 that fit there. Taking a quick look here, we have the surf effect. You can see the default pricing here is at 25. I'm going to put this one at 50. And if you're unfamiliar, the surf effect puts Mario on an invisible Koopa shell and surfs him around. 5 minutes or 5 seconds, you're stuck on the shell. You cannot get off it. And then after that, you can use the standard techniques. You can long jump off it. You can crouch off of it. But it locks you on that shell for a little bit. The reason that I put this at 50 coins is because A, if somebody sends this effect, there is no misunderstanding that something meaningful happened in the game. That's the key. And B, the meaningful thing that happened is not going to set you back so hard that you're going to be stuck in a rut in the game. If 5 people in a row decide to send surf shells at you over and over and over again, that's just going to be fun. That's just going to move you around. And after 5 seconds, you're free. That's going to give them an easy way to understand what crowd control is, what it does, how it affects things. And once they see that surf functional for them, they're like, oh man, I made him surf. I wonder what's going to happen if I pants on fire him, which leads me to pricing that one at 100, which is my tier 1 coin reward. So anyone who is a tier 1 sub in my channel will be able to do 1 pants on fire at me for free. And the channel points for subscribers happen once a month, which is why I like to run my crowd control sessions in a cadence of about once a month, maybe every 2-3 weeks if I'm really into it, if there's a new pack coming out that I really want to check out. But that's the big key, is remembering that the cadence between your sessions also kind of influences how many free coins people have to work with. So those are the key principles of starting the pricing of your crowd control session. Now, I've mentioned a lot the idea of visual impact and game impact, and I want to talk about those for just a second before we go any further. I believe every effect has an impact visually and an impact on your game, and I think those two things are really important in your pricing, where anything that's going to really set you back, you want to put that at a bit of a higher cost. You want to have that somewhere where it's going to be difficult for people to bankroll that kind of thing, right? If it's more expensive, people are going to do it less. If they do it less, it's going to make it a little more rare. If it's more rare, it's going to make those moments a little more special, and it's not going to throw you again into a rut of gameplay. We've all seen those Kaizo Mario streams, the Mario Maker streams, what have you, where a player gets stuck on a level for 25 minutes. They can't get past a particular part, and it gets a little frustrating to watch. It's not that exciting. They're not making any new progress. It's kind of the same thing, right? You don't want to see, if you're a viewer, you don't want to see a streamer getting caught in a particular spot, unable to get past it. It's a little more fun to have that variety, have them jumping around into different levels, different maps, what have you, and checking out all the different content the game has to offer, not only because that's a little more exciting, but it gives you other areas to mess with the player. So if I spend my entire crowd control session in Bob-on Battlefield in Super Mario 64, then no one's ever going to have a chance to send me a surf shell to go over top of the water. If I never make it to a water level, they can't do that. So you want to give your audience opportunities to interact with you in different ways. Again, this is just all my long-winded way of saying, do not make your massively impactful effects, the things that really hurt your gameplay, do not make those cheap. Don't be afraid to price them a little bit higher. There is the pooling feature. You can remind your viewers of this as well, where they can pool their coins together to send those effects. So if you say 1,000 coins to kill Mario, then they got to drop $10. Is $10 worth a lost 45 seconds of gameplay? If you're a speedrunner, right, that's about the amount of time it takes for, give or take, for most stars. I'd say that's more than fair. Right? I'd say that's more than fair. And not to mention that it can, in some cases, be more impactful than that. In some cases, less. There's always going to be those situations where the effects are having an impact that varies based on where you are. So you kind of got to think about how much you're going to be held back by these things. So jumping back to the effect list, I'm going to run through some of these and kind of tell you about what I think their effects are visually and gameplay wise. So right from the start, activate wind. I think this is a small impact gameplay wise. I think it's not that massive of an impact visually. And that's what I look for in my crowd control packs. So for this session, I'm going to disable it for now. Can't move for 10 seconds. I think that this is pure gold because there are so many situations I can imagine using can't move to just end Mario. If I'm at the bully fight, if I'm on a platform that is going to disappear, if I'm on Rainbow Ride on one of the carpets, there's so many situations where if you're locked in place for 10 seconds, that is going to cause a big problem. So I think this is not only a high impact in gameplay, I think it's really high stream value impact in comedy, in good times where it's going to create those fun memories. So this is something I would price probably at about, for my stream, given I'd say I average somewhere between 250 to 300 viewers, I like to keep mine on the lower coin total, more frequent effect side. So I'm going to price this around 750 for me, coins. That's about $7.50 for someone to lock me in place for 10 seconds. I know that seems like a lot of money for someone to lock you in place for just 10 seconds, but those 10 seconds could be what ends your life in a particular area. It's up to the viewer, of course, to decide when, how they want to do that. Moving on, close camera. This is one of those really fun ones that doesn't hurt your gameplay. So I'm going to put it at 250. Same with far camera. The idea doesn't change. You're really close, you're really far. I think both of those are really fun. The Canon camera, however, makes the game incredibly difficult. And I know this because I've done Mario 64 crowd control. Again, if you're pricing a crowd control, I implore you to practice, to boot it up, to check out what the effects do. There is the live extension feature in the app that lets you send yourself effects while you're playing. Understand the effects before you price them so you know what kind of a trouble they're going to give you, they're going to cause. So Canon Cam, I'm going to throw to 500 because it lasts for, I think, about 30 seconds and it causes a pretty big amount of trouble. So Floor is Ice. This one visually doesn't do much. Gameplay wise, I don't think it does too much. And I think that a lot of viewers can struggle with choice paralysis if presented with too much. So again, I'm going to disable it. Fast Mario. This is another effect that I think, is very fun to see. Visually, you can tell Mario's moving much quicker. And it can be both very positive and negative for the streamer. So I would put this at 500, maybe 400, somewhere in that range. But moving forward, we're going to look at Floor is Lava. Sometimes this kills you, sometimes it doesn't. Sets the floor on fire. If you can navigate it well, you die. You live. If you navigate it poorly, you die. I think it's, again, a very funny one. It's visually hilarious. So I'm putting this one at 500 as well because it doesn't have a guarantee to kill you, but there is a chance. Floor is Quicksand. Again, another visually hilarious one. I'm going to put it at 500. Get Wings. So again, we have these tooltips that show everybody what the effects do. Why not help Mario get some wings and energy? This will give Mario unlimited flight for 30 seconds. Very powerful in a positive way. I want my audience helping me. So I'm going to make this affordable. 100 coins because I want that help. It's welcome for me. So after that in the list, we've got Grant Lives. I like this at 25. I want people giving me lives. I don't want to make that too expensive. Then we come to one of the cornerstone crowd control effects, the invert controls. So this is going to swap your left with your right, your up with your down. And I believe this one doesn't swap your buttons, but I believe there is in many packs, they're going to be invert buttons, invert both, all sorts of things. Now, this one I stopped using personally because, again, there's no visual registration other than the chaos in your own brain and of Mario moving around or your character moving around that the controls have been inverted. So because it doesn't give a big visual feedback, I stopped using this one myself. I know a lot of people love it, the chaos of it, but if I'm being honest with you, I'm kind of a gamer. It doesn't hold me back that hard. So it's just people wasting their coins, in my opinion. So I turn it off. Invincible for 15 seconds. Mario and damage in this game aren't too big of an issue. So I actually turn this one off as well. I think it's just another choice the player or the viewers don't need. Invisible for 15 seconds. This one can be very fun because if you can't see where you're jumping, the platforming is very hard. And again, another one that is very visually recognizable. It's not enough to actually ruin you, but it is enough that I'm going to put it at $3, 300 coins to make it a little more to make it show up every now and then, but to not be, happening too often. The kill player effect. This is the big daddy. This is the creme de la creme of crowd control effects. It is the most impactful. It is the most visually noticeable effect, and it deserves our respect and our attention. And it deserves to be looked at in advanced pricing. Because of that, I'm going to jump back to it once we're done going through the rest of the effects so I can give you an advanced pricing rundown kind of after we're done looking at the basic stuff here. So we're going to come back to you, okay? We're going to come back to you. Now, knockback as an effect is one of my favorites. It does nothing but cause Mario to fall down as if he just, in place. It doesn't do anything to just knock him down. If you do it to him midair, he falls down in midair and floats where he is and then falls directly down. If viewers time this perfectly, it can ruin your day. And if they time it poorly, it does nothing to you. It's just silly. But it is really fun to see a bunch of people send knockback over and over and over again at Mario. So he gets up, he falls down. He gets up, he falls down. I think it's very fun. I think it's an effect that doesn't stop you enough, where I would keep it just outside of the free tier, but I would throw it still very low. I'm going to put it at 75 because, again, all said and done, the effect lasts maybe 2 seconds. And it gives a lot of comedy, and it's fun to give people the power to kind of like throw those at you. Limit render distance. This one is one of the newer effects. I haven't played with it too much. I did use it in my last session. But I think this is one that's maybe the terminology and the actual effect of it might be not fully transparent to a viewer their first time reading it. It might be a little confusing to them. I think the more, the gamers who are more well-versed with the technical things, the jargon and everything about the video games. I know render distance is not that complicated, but we got to keep in mind that our audience is going to be filled with people who have never used anything other than like iPads and stuff like that. So I'm gonna keep this one off. I don't think it adds too much. I could be wrong. I've played with it once. I might try it again on another one. That's just how I'm gonna do it this time around. The lock camera. I have tested this one, and it is nasty. It locks your camera in place, and you are stuck trying to navigate the level. But Mario's still doing everything he does, but the camera won't move. You can run off screen, and you'll not be able to see danger coming at you or anything. It's a very impactful effect, and it's pretty comical, and I think it's worth sticking around at 500 for me. You'll notice I keep most of mine around 500, 750, 250. I will give you more information about why they're so low later, because like I said, I average somewhere between, I'd say around 300 viewers. So with that many people, there is going to be a lot of chaos being thrown at me. Again, I'm taking into account that I have done speed runs of Mario 64. I've played it my whole life. I can handle a lot of challenge with it. So I don't mind a little bit of an extra challenge. Most jumps hurt. I'm going to turn this one off as well. I think it's more entertaining for the player to hurt Mario with pants on fire or with shock or in these other ways. And another way of causing Mario to hurt himself with most jumps hurt is by just giving him the super jump, which is down here. He jumps so high naturally that he hurts himself. And I think that they both kind of achieve the same thing with the super jump, just giving, again, a little bit more of that visual feedback to the viewer. So I prefer to not have too many that are doing the exact same thing. And I think the super jump, it's a little more easy to understand, and it's a little easier to quantify in your head, and it's more visually impressive. So that's the one out of those two I'm going to use. One hit KO as well. I don't use this one. I think it's a good effect, but again, I have a lot of experience in this game, specifically beating it without taking a single point of damage. So this one is kind of, a lot of people will send it and then nothing will happen, and it never really results in a special moment on my stream. And I think that's your goal with crowd control sessions, is to have your viewers be the source of these special moments. This one doesn't do it for my stream, so I'll turn it off. Only jumps is a funny one where you can't move on the ground. You're only jumping. So this one, I think it holds you back a little bit. It's not too bad. 10 seconds. I'll put it at 500. Prototype is very funny. It just turns the whole world into looking like it's an alpha version of Mario 64. I like this one a lot, and all it does is affect the game visually. It doesn't stop your gameplay at all. So I'll put it at 400 because I don't want it used so frequently that it loses the magic, but I recognize that it doesn't offer enough of an impact to throw it up to 5, 6, or even like 1,000, right? Pants on Fire is another really funny one. 250. It doesn't usually end your life, but it can. We'll deactivate this one. Again, little sneakus peekus right there for you. The refill health, I like giving people the option to heal me, and this one I'll also keep just out of the free tier. Restart level, I don't like when people do that one to me, specifically because of that. I'm putting it at a flat 20 to restart the level on me. That's going to be 20. And again, we're going to go look at that one in advanced pricing after as well. Another reminder, remove coins. I like to keep the remove and add coins at the same level in Mario 64. Specifically because, and this is something that I learned through doing Mario 64 crowd controls, the 100 coin star only spawns if you collect the 100th coin. So there is trolling value in giving the player coins above 100, if I'm at 98 coins and someone gives me 5, I can no longer get the 100 coin star. And in the same nature, if I'm at 107 coins and someone takes away 8, I can now get the 100 coin star. So because both of these have an equal power for helping and hurting, I like to keep them at the same price. But traditionally in games where you have resources that can be affected, I will make adding the resources more affordable than removing the resources. Removing the resources, you're hurting me. It's going to cost you more. That's mean. Don't do that to me. Restarting the level, I looked at it. Screen flips the screen upside down. We love a little bit of chaos. This one's going to be really hard to keep like your head working right for 30 seconds. That's a long time. I put it at 1,000 initially, and after thinking about how impactful it is, I'm putting it at 1,500 because it is so strong here. It hurts you so much, not only making the game harder, but visually really messing you up. And again, kind of like the invert controls, it offers a similar effect, but this time with a visual component much more noticeable to the rest of the viewers. So that one's going to stick around, but it's going to be expansive. The shock, this one I'm going to put at 125, just outside of the tier 1 sub reach. I think shock is really fun. I think seeing it frequently is very fun. I don't want to see it so frequently that I'm going to get shocked like every 4 seconds. So that one is going to sit at 125. Going forward again, we have slow Mario. I'll put that at, let's say 750, 30 seconds of moving slow in a game where Mario doesn't like to do that. That's going to be too hard. We're going to turn that one down, that 750, make it tough. Squash Mario like a pancake. It takes away his jump height for a little while. It makes it hard for you to move, but only for a little bit of time. I'll throw it at 250. Super gravity. That's going to make your jump much weaker as opposed to super jump. So like I was saying, to help me, super jump 300, to hurt me 500. So these are directly inverse effects here. We're going to change that up. Ultra fast Mario's so fast that you can't control him. I think it's so fun to see though. I'm going to put it at 800. It's 30 seconds of chaos. The button swap, again, this is just like the invert controls. It doesn't visually affect my screen. I personally am not interested in having it on. And then the last effect I have not adjusted in this section is the sudden updraft. Whoosh. So this one sends Mario as if he's in Tall Mountain, in that area where the wind blows under. It sends him up in the air a little bit for 10 seconds. I will put this one at I'll put it at 800. It's enough that it might end up being a little too annoying. I don't want to see it very often. That's basically what I'm getting at here. For the rest of these, for the sake of simplicity, I'm not going to go through and price all these out. I'm just going to leave one, the Master Cap, give Mario basically the power of invisibility, flight, metal, all of his power-ups in one. I'm going to do that, and I'm going to make this 200. Makes it simpler for the viewer, less to decide between. Makes it simpler for me, less to have to explain, to show off, to process as I'm playing. So you can see I've gone through and I have disabled a fair amount of effects. I have priced all my effects in what I think is right for me. Now, before jumping into advanced pricing, I do really want to stress that it's so important to know your community and to know your goal when you're pricing your crowd control session. My community is filled with a ton of people who know how to practice restraint, who know when a joke is being beaten and needs to be, and just telling it over and over again is not doing any benefit. My community is one that I can trust with these lower prices, I think. I know a lot of communities sometimes will have viewers who will take advantage of these low prices and just get crazy with it. And again, I can show you some tricks with that in advanced pricing. But again, I like to shoot for a extremely high frequency of effects at a lower cost. And I know a lot of other crowd control sessions will have their costs a little bit higher for the trade-off of having their effects happen at a lower frequency. My logic is that if the effects are happening a lot for the viewers watching the stream, they're going to see it happening. It's going to entice the other viewers to click on the extension to get their free coins, to go in and to potentially purchase bits and use those bits in the extension. It will maybe be the straw that breaks the camel's back. Maybe they were thinking about subscribing to the channel. They find out they get an extra 100 coins if they're subscribed during crowd control. They find out they have that extra subscriber bonus. They subscribe, they get their coins. I think there's a lot of value in having those effects playing very frequently for A, your content, for B, your revenue stream. So that's why I price mine in the way that I do. I will admit that as far as like the crowd control ambassadors go, I think I am one on the more lower side of pricing. I wouldn't be surprised to see someone walk out with Fast Mario at 1,000, Flora's Lava at 750, Get Wings at 500. I'm actually remembering that I think Get Wings gives you the wings and forces you into flight now that I'm remembering, and that actually really messes you up. So I am going to put that at 750. But anyway, we're going to jump into the advanced pricing after explaining some of those key points of my logic, because this right here is if you think this is a good crowd control session as is, it is about to get 10 times better. Now, I know this is a lot to look at, but I promise it's a lot simpler than you're seeing. And in this menu, once you're, familiar with crowd control, you would just jump right into here instead of ever looking at the basic menu. But I wanted to give, a walkthrough for people that's a little less information to take in on the eyes. So you've got a lot of fields here. They're kind of grouped into twos. So I'll show you exactly how they work. So of course, you got name, whether they are or aren't active, whether they are or aren't poolable. Do you want users to be able to put their coins together to do this effect, essentially? You have the price, customizable right in this menu. And then here are the ones that I think are really important. You have your scaling percentage and your scaling duration. So your scaling percentage, what this means is that when a user uses the effect, let's say we're going to go and we're going to work on Kill Mario now. We're going to work on the Kill Player effect. When a user uses the Kill Player effect, I'm going to have the base price of this set at 500. And I know what you're thinking, xwater, that's really low. People are just going to kill you over and over again. No, they're not. And I'm going to show you why. The scaling percentage, I am going to make it so that this effect gets 100% more expensive every time it is purchased. Now, of course, if that's happening over and over and over again, 500, and then it becomes 1,000. And I believe we have our other members of the crowd control team on the line still. Jaku, if you could speak into my ear and tell me if that percentage is compounding or not. Does it go 1,000 to 2,000 or 1,000 to 1,500?
No, it takes the base price.
Base price. Okay. So yeah, every time it's going to go up by 500 from here. And that's what I want. But I don't want it to be like that forever. Because once the joke is, again, this is the whole concept of knowing when a joke is dead. Once the joke is dying,
it does double.
It does double. Up. Okay. So knowing that as well, we have it's going to go up to 1,000, and then it's going to go up to 2,000, and then it's going to go up to 4,000, and it's going to keep scaling in that way. And having that in consideration, I'm going to drop this down to 75, so it's a little less aggressive because I want people doing it because every time they do it, spoiler alert, I get a little bit of cash in my pocket. I love that. But B, it is also part of the fun. I don't want to restrict it too much. And then for how long I want it blocked off in that way, I'm going to set 15. So this is the time in minutes that scaling will be active. And to explain it most basically, if I'm streaming and somebody kills my player for 15 minutes, the price will be scaled by 75%. So by 375, the price is going to increase. It'll be 875 for the next person to send the kill player for 15 minutes. And then again, in that time span, let's say 5 minutes from there, the price will go up by another 75%. I'm not going to do that math right now. You can't make me. So once that first 15 minutes passes, that second stack of scaling percentage will still have 5 minutes remaining on it. So the price won't drop down to 0 right away, but rather each time someone purchases this effect, it will scale by that percentage right here for this much time. And that's what you really need to consider when you're doing your scaling and your scaling durations. So this is how I'm going to price mine for this session so that it goes up by 75% for 15 minutes. If people are really, really wanting to end me, they can. but I don't want them doing it too much. And especially in the late game when, you know, people have their coins stocked up, they've stashed them through the run, they've had the free coin refresh and they've used it a bunch of times and it's been 4 hours. I just want to beat Bowser and be done. And this will stop them from repeatedly killing me and will force them to find more creative ways to stop me in my journey, which in turn also just makes for a more fun stream. It just works in so many levels. So for kill player, I'm going to do that. Now, we also have 3 more fields here that I'll introduce you to. You have the global cooldown, the time in minutes preventing repeated purchases of this effect. So if you don't want, let's look at an effect here. The floor is lava. I only want the floor to be lava once every 5 minutes. So I'm going to set a global cooldown of 5 on floor is lava. So the price won't scale. I'll leave it at 500 flat. But it can only happen once every 5 minutes. I just chose that one for just because there's no particular reason for the floor is lava, but that is the logic there. Now, something else like the shock. Let's go look at the shock right here. This second last field right here, you can see is user cooldown. So if I put a 2 right here, that means that every user can only send me 1 shock every 2 minutes. It doesn't mean that I can only be shocked once every 2 minutes. It means that Jaku can only shock me once every 2 minutes. That Moni can only shock me once every 2 minutes. That any of you in the chat room, if I were doing this crowd control right now, each of you have the power to do that effect yourself once every 2 minutes. So for
those
effects,
limits don't apply to me.
Jaku, yeah, he's all powerful, I guess. Listen, don't make me open this text file. It's filled with your secrets, okay? It's filled with them.
Fair.
All right, good. So the per user cooldown is a really good way to help keep some of those wild effects that we kept really low in check. The shock is one of those ones we kept really low. The surf we kept really low, but this one I'm actually just going to introduce this third field, the max queued. So this one is how many instances of this effect can be like lined up to be sent to you. There is a queuing system with crowd control effects. Crowd control does its best to make sure that you are getting absolute bang for your buck as a viewer when you're sending effects. So it doesn't want to send effects when they can't happen. And if there is a situation, let's say you're in a transition screen, you jump in a painting in Mario 64, and Mario can't be set on fire because he's not on the screen. Crowd control is not going to waste that effect. It's going to queue it, and it's going to wait until an opportunity arises where it can send that effect. So this max queued is a way to limit how many can be banked up in that periodic application of effects. And if 10 people decide to send the surf effect, then I'm going to be on a shell and I'm going to get knocked off. And I'm going to be on the shell, I'm going to get knocked off. And there's no real problem with that. But I think again, having that limited to 1 at a time in the queue is going to make it more easy for players or for viewers to be able to know when they're sending theirs to get in on that. Maybe increase it to 2 because it's a not that impactful effect. If people really want to do it, why not let them? But again, that's up to you as the broadcaster thinking about how you want your crowd control session to feel, to be, to play. So going through all of these, I would spend some time on my crowd control session adjusting these scalings, adjusting these cooldowns, and making sure that we have the max queued of at least 1 on some of these really impactful effects. Most, if not all, of the kill player effects will have a default max queued of 1 because the spamming of the kill and queuing that over and over again can lead to some issues. So things like the restart level, I would throw that as a max queued of 1 as well. Any other big ones? Where did I put the big prices? The screen flip. That one, if they want to spam it, go for it. It costs $15 a piece. It's your funeral, right? The rest of them, I will leave for now because I do want to take some time to show you guys a few more pieces of my pricing. But if this was my session, I would be going through and on all these lower effects, I would be setting some sort of typically scaling and duration, and then cooldowns, user cooldowns. And I know very soon we will be introducing a feature where the scaling duration, if set to 0. Jaku, can you remind me of the behavior of that we're planning to introduce?
Yeah, if scaling is set to 0, then it will not scale back down, is the new behavior that we will be implementing.
Gotcha. Yes. So keep that in mind. As is right now, if the scaling duration is set to 0, that means it's going to go back to 0. It's going to scale right back down immediately. In the future, it will let it scale indefinitely. But if you want your scaling to work, you need to make sure you're setting a percentage and a duration. That's the key takeaway here. Now, jumping back, we're going to go back to the basic pricing. I'm happy with my pricing here. I'm good with it. It looks great. We're going to now jump into what I think is another one of the most important parts of a successful crowd control session is the channel rewards. Now, again, I have Crowd Control Pro on my account, and I cannot understate the value of it for getting your viewers hooked. It's very affordable, and it does offer a lot of value for helping people make that jump into watching to interacting. Because it is, it's something that people might be a little hesitant about. With Crowd Control Pro, you have the ability to add up to 12 channel point rewards. Without Crowd Control Pro, you can do 3. And 3 is fine, but 12 is beautiful. So what I like to do is set a couple of channel point rewards that people can use. And this is my alternative to using the channel points for coin system. I like to just use the channel point rewards. So people still have a way to use their channel points. But this way, I can set it so that their channel points can only be used in the ways that I say so. If somebody is going to have a ton of channel points in my stream and they exchange those for coins and then decide to repeatedly kill me, well, I was kind of hoping that if I'm going to get an effect that devastating, that I'm going to get a little bit of change in my pocket. So instead, what I'm going to do is remove that option entirely and choose which effects I want them to be able to do to me with the channel points. And to start for this one, I'm going to choose 3. So I want people to have stuff that they're going to know and be able to see. So I'm going to start with Grant Lives. And I'll set this one at 2,500 channel points because it's not that impactful. It doesn't do much visually other than tick that counter up. But it does give me, as the streamer, a way to ask my kind side of my audience for help. When I am on the brink of losing and getting a game over, I can make a plea with my audience and say, hey, I need your help, please. It's in the channel point rewards. Redeem the Grant Lives. Give me a life. Just if 5 of you could do it, it would keep me from gaming over. And that's when, the helpful side of your audience is going to be able to do that. And the hurtful side of your audience is going to hustle and bustle to try and end your character's life before they have an opportunity to do so. So I see a lot of value in that. I think it's a lot of fun. Another one I'll do is, let's say, let's give the knockback. Let's add the knockback and let's put this one at 5,000. So again, it's not too expensive. A lot of people I know have stockpiles of hundreds of thousands of channel points in my channel. So I know that's not too much for them. I'm going to put that one nice and low. And if people decide to, they can be chaotic with it and send a ton of them. And it's always really fun to see that kind of stuff. So why not give it a shot? And then the last one, I'll do one more for this. And let's turn on the super jump. Another one that I think has a good amount of impact. And it's not it's not going to hurt you too bad. It is going to help you a little bit. But it's overall an effect that is, I'm very willing to give this one out for free, essentially. It's, of course, the channel points take time to accumulate, but they are a meaningless online currency, so it doesn't matter. Not like coins, who have great meaning. The super jump I'm going to activate for 20,000. Let my viewers use that. So again, this is a great way to include your audience who may be younger and doesn't have access to a credit card, or who may be older and just not in a space to spend a ton of money, right? Or maybe just is a little bit more frugal and wants to interact without being able to, without having to put in their credit card information and buy bits and exchange those bits for coins. This gives them an option while not taking away the opportunity for the streamer, you, to make some money out of your misery. So you must click that save button. I forgot to do that once, and then I messaged Jaku, and I felt like a fool realizing I didn't click the button. Click the save button so you don't have to feel like a fool like I did. So those are now saved, and when I go live with this session on my channel, those channel point rewards are going to be activated automatically. I don't have to do a single extra thing. Once they're up there, I can change the icons if I want, but by default, they will be their original icons. So as we are right now, I have gone through, I have priced my effects. They are looking good. I have gone through the advanced pricing. I would come back and do some more, but I don't want to eat up all the time tonight. So we've done a bunch of the advanced pricing, and then I've shown you the impact of the coin settings, your free coins, and how to use the free coin refresh to give your audience, A, a call to action, B, to have them interacting with the extension more often. The more often they're clicking on that extension, the more often that you're going to be getting those interactions. So you want that. And then, of course, the channel points rewards that we looked at the end there. With all these avenues, this is how I like to price my crowd control sessions. I'm not the be-all, end-all on this. There are features that I didn't use. There's obviously the channel point conversions that I personally don't use. And there are some of the effects that I turned off, but everyone's stream is your own. We all know this. We all run different streams. I'm loud and obnoxious. A lot of people are calm and collected. So it all depends on what kind of session you want to run. And knowing that your crowd control session is a show, it's an extravagant performance, right? It is a moment. And to let your audience be the key reaction that sparks those moments is what my goal is. So by giving them appropriately priced effects, that's going to have them interacting often, and giving them those reasons to see, giving them those opportunities to test crowd control, to get the people who are a little shy to jump in, testing the effects, and then understanding what kind of power we're giving to them with crowd control. That's the key principles behind me pricing my effects. And if I were trying to push very strong revenue, I would likely jump in here, up some of these prices a little bit. But I'm not going to shy away from it here. I have made a good chunk of change using crowd control with these pricing techniques myself. I have seen people with more aggressive pricing make great chunks of change themselves as well. But I found what works for me, and I find that after a few sessions, you find what works for you and your community. Everybody knows their own community as a streamer very well. So for people of my size, I love to really promote the interactivity. I think at a smaller size, having that really easy distinction of jumping in to the crowd control with the free coins and then having the more impactful effects costing a little bit of money. So apart from that, I think we've covered everything I was looking to cover in my pricing. I say we take an opportunity now to jump back in with my co-hosts before I reveal Jaku's secrets. Oh, no, there it is. He doesn't even hack stuff. What a fraud. Wow. What do you got to say about that, Jaku?
I can't believe it. I was about to compliment you on what you've done, and now you just ruined it.
Yeah, I wasn't supposed to double click that. Something came over me. I couldn't help it.
But no, something that really struck me, just like I was talking about during the letter I gave you all, the importance of having an overlay that matches your stream. The channel, the coins also should match your stream. It's not visually something there, but you need to do that matching. And this was a really good way to showcase that.
Yes, and that's something I didn't go over too. The overlay on your stream, so important to showing the viewers, those effects that are happening when they're happening. Obviously, the visual feedback I talked about a lot, but the actual overlay for your crowd control session. I'm just going to jump back and show everyone the preview of it real quick. This guy right here, it's in the overlay tab. This gives your viewers immediate feedback of what they did, what their fellow viewers did, what is currently active in this bottom right-hand corner, what is currently queued in the top right-hand corner. And by putting this, I've customized mine. This isn't the default color scheme, but this matches kind of like the energy of my stream, right? I made it my own by choosing the custom color scheme that fits my, energy the best. And this is a really, really important as well part to getting people to understanding what's happening and putting this on your stream in the correct way. We've got tons of guides and everything about how to use this properly. It's very simple, but you can very easily find this on our website and right in here, the crowd control application on the overlay tab. Sorry, I wanted to jump in and make sure people knew about that one too.
Yeah, it's important.
Yeah. So what do you guys say we take some questions and we consider answering them?
Yeah, we can consider that.
Okay.
I'm gonna post them right here so you have them handy. But yeah, that was amazing. Thank you so much, Mickey, for that mini workshop. I think it was really insightful, and it was so exciting to see people in the chat being like, "Oh my god, I didn't know I could do this." So that's exactly what we wanted to achieve. And before we jump into the Q&A, I just wanted to say, like, for me, I watch a lot of crowd control streams. It's my job, so I have to. But something that I've noticed that makes the most impact on crowd control streams, whether you're a big streamer or you're a small streamer, is price scaling. Because a lot of people are like, yeah, but I don't want to put effects too high because then people won't interact as much. And scaling gives you that avenue of maybe starting really low on an effect price, and then the more people use it, the more expensive it gets, so it can still be interactive and you can still make some extra revenue. Like, I think we've seen Dark Souls roll credits go to like $2,000 or something, which was insane. So yeah, scaling, I think it's probably one of, if not the most powerful of those things that xwater explained.
For sure.
But yeah, we have some questions here. So someone asked, I'm pretty sure we went over this. Is there a 12 redemption limit for viewers to exchange channel points? I'm pretty sure that's correct, right, Jaku?
Yeah, that's correct. That's actually been increased a few times. We've done testing with that. So since I got some people here, I can kind of explain the reasoning behind the 12 redemption limit. And it's per one. So you can have 3. So it's for the 1, 10, and 100 coins, essentially. Reasons for the limit. 1, it definitely spams your chat. Every time you redeem a channel point, sadly, there's no way to disable that, and it will throw it through your chat. 2, what we found is that streamers will set these up, and their users will have millions and millions of coins, as I saw some in this chat did, and they will then have, or channel points, and then they will redeem them so many times that now they have so many coins that you are pricing effects for those 2 or 3 users, and no one else can afford anything. So it's really kind of a, I don't want to say it's, we're putting gloves on you or anything, but at the same time, we are trying to keep you from, messing yourself up with setting these channel point rewards to completely ruin your coin economy.
Yeah. It absolutely is a coin economy, and it can be very challenging to manage. There's a tab we never showed off there where it shows what the current, because the coins persist for your viewers from one session to the next, as long as it's, your own bit enabled section. So my audience, I know there's a couple people I can see, it's like, oh, that dude's got 10,000 coins stocked up. Like, I got to be weary of that and take that into account when I'm pricing as well. Obviously, for this session, I didn't mention it, but as you do your crowd control sessions, people will have those leftover coins that they can bring into the next one. And knowing that and being able to price around that is very, very, very useful and helpful. And the channel point one, without the limit, it can get very challenging to balance those against each other. Yeah, I mean, I don't know nothing about no economics over here, so I'm glad crowd control steps in a little bit there for me at the very least.
Yeah, and there's a lot of features, just like channel points is kind of protecting you. The entire coin system is to protect basically the streamer, because that crowd control only charges the viewers for their coins when effects get triggered. Sometimes an effect may not load. We're doing crazy things to games, so that can happen. So the best way to guarantee that your viewer is probably gonna get, they're gonna get their coins back if something doesn't happen. That's why coins exist, to kind of protect that refund and relationship between you and your users, and make sure that if they don't get stolen for whatever. So yeah, a lot of the things that have like a limit or a cap or happen is probably go back to kind of protecting you and your relationship with the users. Cool. So we have this one is more a more fun question. What's your favorite game to play with crowd control, and what are your favorite effects in that game?
I think mine is Super Mario 64, probably closely followed by Donkey Kong Country. 1 or 2 are both really good. I think 1 though, I really like Donkey Kong Country 1. And I just love the small knockbacks. Those are my favorite because it's so disrespectful to just knock Mario down, to just bump the monkey back, right? And we've had situations where people like, I had bump as a channel point reward, and they threw like 100 bumps at me while I was in level transition. So they were all queued and they all happened at once, and it made for these incredibly hilarious moments. I think just my love for those games and the quality of the packs for those games really make them like shining examples for me. Plus, I'm a Mario streamer, Pokemon streamer, Nintendo streamer, so those ones stand out pretty heavy for me.
Oni?
Okay, so for me, I usually don't play that much, so I'm gonna default by saying that my favorite is Super Mario World because it's probably the one that I've done the most. So I'm very biased.
It's a good
However,
pack.
my favorite to watch is actually funny because I haven't even played this game, but my favorite to watch is actually Hollow Knight. I feel like that pack is kind of super funny. So yeah, and I think my favorite effect for Hollow Knight is sending the character to sleep in the middle of a fight. That's yeah. Jaku.
Yeah, so actually it's funny because I both like Super Mario 64 and Super Mario World for very similar reasons with crowd control. The effects all pretty much really describe what they do very well. Users don't have to think scratch their heads thinking, what does this mean? It's fairly clear usually what it does just by the name alone. There's some of the most fun ones. I know Super Mario World, Dita the Fourth, she's done a lot of effects for that game and has ripped that game apart. I'm basically the dev for Mario 64, and so like all the new effects that like every so often I'm like, you know what, I'm bored, let's find something. So I just love digging into that game. Prototype mode, that was a new one that I added. The floor is lava and all that. That's all brand new stuff that came out in the last month or so, and it's just absolutely fantastic effects. And so just love it, re-exploring those games for sure.
Yeah, I feel like we got to give an honorable mention to the OG Link to the Past randomizer because the effects in there, they're so fun. It's one of our like first few titles that we had support for as well. And yeah, the Chicken Storm, the Cuckoo Storm is just, it's never not funny.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so we had a question from our gig, and this probably goes back to a little bit of that pricing session. How do you fix users having too many coins? I think that's a great question, and I want to see, Mickey, how would you tackle that with your own stream?
It is a great one. And how I would tackle this on my own stream, because I do have to tackle this, is user cooldowns. Kind of got to accept that, they forked over the cash, the coins are theirs. And I don't want to, like we were talking about with the channel points for coins, I don't want to set my prices so high that it's prohibits the other people from doing stuff. But if I use user cooldowns, I can stop that one person from like unloading the unholy chaos of the monsters on me like all at once by, introducing those cooldowns. That's the smoothest way I can think of putting the user cooldowns in.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, user cooldowns are probably your way to avoid spam, for sure. Cool. We have a question from Fred Stid on the chat, and they ask, this one's probably for Jaku. How did the idea of crowd control come around?
We're only doing the first part of that question. I saw. So it's actually two ideas formed on this. So there was something formerly known as Bit Races that was developed by Cat Dev Games. That was doing the Link to the Past stuff, where you had to type all the commands in chat. And then we were experimenting with our own little thing because of a Donkey Kong, or not Donkey Kong, Mario Party, Donkey Kong 1. Because of a Mario Party game that we played, me, xwater, and Grand Pooh Bear, where it was all CPUs. And so we, once we heard about the Bit Races thing, we kind of talked and we combined forces, and that's how crowd control formed. We're actively working with game developers these days. So that was kind of the second part of the question. So there's lots of games coming that are built with crowd control in mind, or at least crowd controls built into those games soon.
Cool. Um, we have a question from Mr. Life Producer. Would there be a way to add custom sound support on some effects? So if someone does a knockdown effect to Mario, it does a quick slap sound. It might help with adding more character to effects.
Yeah, so right now we have a single effect that you can apply to all effects, and there can actually be a cooldown applied to that so that the sound effect doesn't play every second, like every time an effect comes in. But something new with Crowd Control 2.0 will be that feature. So there was another question where somebody wanted to know about a Crowd Control 2.0 feature. There you go.
2 for 1 right there. Let's go.
Yeah. Well, that's probably gonna be the last question, but yeah. Yeah, I just wanted to say like, yeah, it's coming, but there you go. The CEO confirmed it. Cool. So another question from Noxiv ASMR from Twitter. They ask, as a user interaction interface, where is the glass ceiling that you think crowd control may eventually hit? Do you think that the uses extend to the imagination of the streamers or the game developers?
What a good question.
It's a great question.
Yeah, we got a
some
visionary.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had a lot of discussions on the next stage of the extension and why the next stage of the extension will look similar enough to the current one. Spoilers. There are makings to be sure to extend it further, is what I will say. There's a lot of ideas that I've thrown around. I mean, even in the early 2018, 2019 days of like, hey, this would be great. But make sure technology catches up with that, and just that we have the tools in place. A lot of times it comes down to the games and being able to do the right things with the games. And so a lot of this will come, from game dev. So it might not necessarily work for retro games, but for games that have crowd control built in, definitely some new possibilities are hopefully in the works.
Yeah, as a team right now, I think one of our biggest missions and goals with Crowd Control 2.0 as well is to kind of just get ourselves more out there in the industry and really like educate like how impactful and the impact crowd control and stream interactivity can bring to your games. So I feel like once we get people to understand what it does and the potential that it has for the games, I think after it, that's going to be like the big step for us to just blow it out of the park. Cool. So we have a question that this is just another fun one that it says, what's your favorite crowd control moment ever?
Ooh, I got one. When I think of my favorite crowd control moment, the most crowd control moment that we ever had was probably when we were in Las Vegas for one of Grand Pooh Bear's speedrun sessions, and there was a session where we had a custom effect here that I think now is exactly the same as the Give Wings effect. And if you use this effect specifically while Mario is holding Bowser and like spinning him around, Mario then flies away while holding Bowser's tail in his mouth, and he flies for 30 seconds. So we had this happen for the first time, and none of us had seen this before, which is kind of like in the nature of crowd control. You find these interactions that never would have thought of. And it was so comical to just see Mario fly hundreds of feet into the air with Bowser in his hands. And then when that effect ends, it like threw Bowser into the bomb, and he like blew up over towards infinity. And it was just so wacky to watch. I'll never forget that moment, because it was a live audience too. Everyone was like hooting and hollering and just going crazy.
Yeah, that was definitely a great moment, and that's one of those fun effects where like, okay, this is good, and then in testing, who would have thought to grab Bowser?
Exactly.
With it?
Yeah.
This is similar. GDQ during testing before the actual stream, so most people didn't see this, and there was actually an effect that we tried to force it to happen. But we were doing a play test like the night or two before, and all of a sudden we had double Ganon in the Ganon fight. And we're like, wait, why are there two Ganons? And it was just some sort of bug with how we were spawning some enemies in that we spawned an extra Ganon in. And it was amazing that we tried to make it an effect that would work during the stream. But sadly, because of what we're doing to the game, it was not as easy or reproducible as we had hoped.
Yeah, it's funny because I knew Jaku was gonna talk about GDQ. I didn't know what exactly, but I knew he was gonna talk about GDQ, so I thought about another moment.
Smart,
Uh,
smart.
so I would say my favorite crowd control moment ever was MatPat's $1 million challenge for St. Jude. Jaku and I had the opportunity to go to LA, to the YouTube headquarters to be a part of that event, and seeing like all of these giant Minecraft streamers like Dream and Captain Sparkles using crowd control was just like, in what world? And then like MatPat as well, like what world am I living? Like I grew up watching MatPat. And I know like Rezi, our graphic designer, she's a huge fan of Captain Sparkle, so it was just kind of really fun to see these massive creators just using crowd control. That was for sure kind of surreal moment.
Yeah,
Uh,
I kind of wanted to say, like, it's been really the best moment of our crowd control has been all the opportunities we've had to work with other creators and charities and just companies in general. It's been really fun. And while you don't see all of that, you see it here and there. Like, it's been really fun for our team and for me, especially because I go to most of them. But like for our team to be involved in that sort of stuff and to be like in gaming and be in this space.
yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
I remember when Jaku took Saturn to Japan and they did Mario Kart in the streets of Tokyo.
We're doing it again in January.
Woo!
Oh my god. Yeah. After a well-deserved 2.0.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Okay. So what games have helped streamers make more money?
Oh,
This is also a great question. These questions are super great.
yeah. I
Um,
mean, this is a good question for sure. And most of you probably know the answer already, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, it's a volume game here where the most played game on like the most played games are the ones who bring the most viewers, the ones with the most viewers in there. Likely going to be a relationship there. So I think Minecraft is our number one, correct?
Minecraft's number one. I know there's some Zelda in there. There's some
Yeah.
Mario in there. There's The Sims. There's what's the other? Skyrim. Skyrim's
Skyrim's up
another really
there.
big one.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very much a numbers game. What game are most people streaming? Chances are that's gonna be one of the higher revenue driving crowd control games.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but we've seen people doing all sorts of games have like individually successful sessions. Like let's
Mhm.
say The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, for example, not streamed quite as much as something like, Mario 64 that has speedrunners doing it all the time. There's one or two active runners in that game. But there have been a couple of streamers who have a deep proficiency with Majora's Mask and they've done crowd control with the game, and they've for themselves made great, like absolutely great sessions. They've pocketed a great little bit of cash for themselves. Their audience had fun. And all the while, it's like there isn't that many people in that category. So while it's not one of our overall top games for each individual streamer, as long as it's something your audience is ready to see or wants to see, there's potential everywhere.
Yeah, and just like anything, one large streamer could pick up one of the random games we have, and that game could be like near the top of the list just because of their influence.
Yeah.
But yeah, it really is typically a numbers game in general.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. So the next question is more probably for xwater. It's not so much crowd control related, but I feel like since we're inspiring creators here, I think attending any creations about streaming could be fun. So they say crowd control is an amazing tool to help people like me interact with their audience. I normally struggle to connect. Do you have any suggestions for reaching more people though? I find the advertising is a struggle.
Yeah. This one is tough because I feel like a very quick breakdown of kind of like a concept in content creation is that there's three types of content. You have your hero content, your hub content, and your help content. And this is kind of like a principle that rings through most, like in all of your content you're producing. And crowd control, I think, falls into hub content, right? So hero content is the stuff that makes you as a creator you. It is what you are like. It's the magic. It's the big money piece. It's the blockbuster streams and videos you put out. The hub content is the things you do that are really fun, and your audience loves it, but it's not necessarily bringing in new people. And then your help content is the stuff that's meant to bring in new people, but it's not necessarily what you yourself are all about, right? So crowd control, I don't think it has a huge by its nature key, drawing effect for a new person coming into your stream, because it's kind of an intimate stream when you think about it, an intimate idea where your audience gets to mess with you. It's almost like buddies making fun of each other and teasing each other, right? Your audience gets to help you or they hurt you. And if you don't have a connection with that streamer already, you're likely not going to be that interested in participating in their crowd control session. So it's almost a piece of content that's more designed to be for your existing audience. As far as finding ways to advertise, it's hard. It's hard coming in on Twitch and as a creator, and finding ways to go about that. Just general advice for that, not related to crowd controllers, but to find a space, be in it, meet the people in it, whether it's a particular speedrunning community or whether it's, any sort of, type of VR community, just whatever kind of community you want to be a part of. Make friends, be a part of that community, join the space, and form those connections. That's the most natural way to grow on Twitch. Of course, a little bit of luck is involved, but yeah.
Yeah.
Some of our creators are in our Discord. Some creators that use crowd control are in our Discord, and there's it's a good way to meet other streamers that are using crowd control, and networking is a huge thing. I know when I was a streamer doing Mario Maker, if I wasn't streaming myself, I was in Mario Maker streams talking with everyone, and you could potentially find similar types of people that like crowd control in those streams. And so getting to know your fellow crowd control users, streamers, would probably be a good idea.
Yeah, that's Jaku and I met playing Mario Maker at the same time, and eventually, started running in the same circles, and here we are.
Yeah, biggest regret of my life.
I'll spill more of your secrets, old man.
Oh no!
Wow. No, and just to close that up, I think since I'm more on the marketing aspect and like how to advertise yourself, I would 100% like get yourself out there, like tweet about your streams. Maybe you don't have to get into all of the social channels at the same time, but maybe just tweeting is an easy way to just share about you, about your streams, what your content is, engaging with your community after your channels, and yeah, just getting yourself out there. I think it's really important if you want to grow and start a community. Also communicating with them beyond the stream is super important. Cool. So we have another question. They ask, how many games do you generally have in the works at one given time?
Ooh, that is that's a fun question. We have it's dozens. Dozens is a word that would work. There are lots of games that are in the pipeline at any given time. There are conversations I've had with developers that plan to do crowd control that their game's not going to be out for another 2 years. But they're interested in bringing crowd control to it. So do we count those? Sure, we can count those. There's retro games that we love to look at, but there's just sometimes where it's like, is it the right amount of effects? Going through it, like what we don't like to do with games is just be like, oh well, we can add and remove the items you collect in the game. That's easy. That's fun for a few things, but we want those hard hitting effects, like xwater was showing us earlier with what are the visual effects, what are really going to hook people in. And some games are really difficult to do that sort of stuff on, and other games are really easy. So that's one of the big parts about it. At the end of the day, we're also technically a business, and so for a lot of times it's like, what is the return on investment for us on this? I hate to say it, like at the end of the day, it does come down to money for some games, like, Tonka Truck Rescue Patrol. It sounds like a great game that will set your audience up 17% from what I'm told. Give me the numbers. Let's see. But no, there's certain games out there that might not actually be worth it. We've burned ourselves on a few games that we ourselves as a team enjoy, and so like I wouldn't say it's always the reason. There's a reason SimCity crowd control's up there because I love that game and I wanted a weekend project, and it's a fine crowd control, but it's not the revenue driver by any chance, by any shot. But again, so it comes down to, is this game going to be maintainable as well? So you'll see a lot of new games come out, and I should really speak about that a little bit. Elden Ring's probably a perfect example of this. It'd be great to have crowd control, but with the updates that it had, every week or so, that would have been a nightmare to maintain and to handle support on. And so now that it's slowing down with its updates, but just got DLC, who knows? We can probably start to explore that. We also like to sometimes give games its own window of playtime. The first time you play Elden Ring shouldn't be with crowd control. As much as I would love for you to go out and explore that game with crowd control on your first run through, if the game just came out, you should probably play it legit first. And that's hard to say sometimes, but it's the right thing to say, because what I don't want you to do is get the experience of the game wrong. If you had a bad time with crowd control on an Elden Ring, you might say, oh, well, Elden Ring's a bad game. But maybe it was because of crowd control, or maybe it wasn't. I don't know. So just a lot of different factors. But dozens of games are in the works at all times. Our team is swamped with requests. We're swamped with fixing bugs. There's a lot that you see in the Discord, but there's a lot of tickets that we get through email. I'm not inviting you to send emails. Please use the Discord. It's definitely the best way to do it. But we do offer it through email.
Yeah. Well said.
Yeah.
Well said.
I have this one is like a funny palate cleanser question. Who is your favorite crowd control streamer and why is it not xwater? Got him.
Thank you, whoever submitted that.
It was actually Rezi. No, but I actually wanted to take the opportunity to take that question and just give a massive shout out to the crowd control ambassadors. Some of them are not here, but I know they were signaling the town hall for on Twitter. But yeah, they're just amazing creators that we get the honor and privilege to work with. They're a diverse pool from your 50 concurrent viewers all the way to like 1,200 concurrent viewers. And we're super happy to be working with them. They truly understand what crowd control is and the power it has for their communities. They've been using crowd control since its inception. I feel like 5 out of the 9 have been using it since it was like a closed beta back in the day. So yeah, just wanted to give a shout out to the ambassadors. They're probably gonna be looking at this video later, and I wanted to make sure to get that in there.
Yeah.
And xwater is one of our ambassadors, so there you
Woo, that's me.
go. You were gonna say something, Jaku?
Well, I was gonna say, yeah, if we don't shout them out, then they're gonna get mad at us. So
Yeah, they're gonna get
gotta make our ambassadors happy.
Yay. Okay, so we have our last 4 questions. That's it, chat. Your opportunity
You're
is
cut off.
done. So the question says, there are a lot of games that the audience could potentially mess with the streamer. What are some distinguishing features when looking for the next crowd control game? Great question.
Yeah.
I think off my head, the staying power of a game is probably a decent one. If like Jaku was talking about, like it takes some resources to make a decent pack here. And if a game is not going to have staying power on, in content creation, for example, like what's like Stray I know this isn't a game we would crowd control support, but like Stray, the game that came out in the summer where you play as a cat, that's a one and done kind of game. That's not a game
of the year. That was game of the year.
Indie game of the year, according to some people. Not my indie game of the year, but that's okay. But you know what I mean? It's like a game that doesn't have staying power. So while, yeah, maybe there's some cool stuff that could be done in there, the game doesn't lend itself well to replayability. And I think that's maybe another factor there is replayability of a game. Like Hollow Knight is a great crowd control game. It's got staying power. It's easily replayable. I'm sure from your side, Jaku, there's tons of like technical limitations and aspects. Like Skyrim, for example, was an extremely prodded and modded game before we even looked at it, right? Like giving us at least a window of opening where I know a lot of games we've been like, oh, we want to do this, but how?
Yeah, exactly. If a game's already moddable, that's going to be a huge like benefit for us to use. But yeah, something like Stray, and what would just make you turn into a dog, maybe like a dog, like a barking dog, and you'd say like,
Change the
stop
meow
barking.
to a bark. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah. So at the end of the day, yeah, I think you hit it right there. Is like, okay, is this game going to last? And can we come up with good effects though? Again, like, is it going to be fun for us if we have crowd control? And there, a lot of people can challenge me on that very easily. Like, off the top of my head, I'm like, a sports game would be weird. And then they'd be like, oh, wait, no, it'd be so great. What if you could make the football twice as big? And what if they could run faster? And what if, blah. It's like, okay, now you sold me on it. Like, so a lot of times when we ask you for game ideas and suggestions, effects are cool to give us for sure. But like, sell us on the effects, because that gets us more excited than just the name of the game. So yeah, that's a big thing to do, I think.
Yeah.
Give
for
us your
sure.
vision for it, because I might not see it right away.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Really,
especially
really
if we
sell
haven't
it.
played, especially if we haven't played the game, and that
Yeah.
actually transitions us really well into the next question, which is from Marshmallow Elephant. Marshmallow Fant. What was a recent game that you were extremely excited to support with CC? And I want to start. So my pick for that is The Sims 4. I love The Sims 4. I have over 2,000 hours on The Sims 4. I am a DGen Sims fan, content consumer of The Sims. And I knew that the community on Twitch was huge. I knew there was a lot of users that had used crowd control for like Fall Guys and Minecraft that were huge simmers. So I saw that opportunity, and the team, I think some of them haven't played any Sims game past like Sim City, like before I was
played
born.
the Herbs on the GameCube.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, Sims in the City, the Herbs.
So that's what I did. I told the team of all of the opportunity that where we were going to tap into if we got The Sims 4 happening for crowd control, and I just came up with a list of like 50 effects and dropped it in a ticket. And I was like, here's why we should do The Sims 4 crowd control. Pushed it, and then it happened, and now it's actually one of the most successful crowd control games.
Such a great pack, yeah.
You two can make an amazing pack. All right, xwater.
I haven't had a chance to play this pack yet, so it's probably my next crowd control stream. But my indie game of the year, at least one of my top 2 contenders, Vampire Survivors, supported through crowd control now. I think getting a big DLC update actually tomorrow or the day after or something, so that might be something we need to look at and think about. But either way,
patch that.
yeah, the Vampire Survivors, I think, is one of those games that, yeah, it does have a good amount of staying power, and it has like enough replayability that I could see it as being a really fun session, especially with people being able to summon monsters and then their name is over top of the monster. I think that was what made Cult of the Lamb a lot of fun for streaming, was that like people created their cultist and like they were part of the thing. And so that just like, again, is another one of those things that makes it a little more intimate, makes the connection a little stronger, while also keeping things streamlined and smooth. So yeah, I'm excited about Vampire Survivor.
Yeah. I'm really excited about Resident Evil 4 and Resident Evil 1, and just getting the team on board with Resident Evil games. Because it was one of those games at first where it was like, can this be done? Is this going to be fun? And it turns out it's great. So the Resident Evil series is as a whole, and we're hoping to have a lot more Resident Evil games soon. So be on the lookout for that little teaser.
Nice.
Heck yeah. Cool. We have our last 2 questions. This one is from Legend of Zenith. Yes. Sometimes I use a different way to use crowd control. One of them is inviting viewers to join my game via Parsec so that they can experience crowd control effects themselves. My question is, do you have any plans to expand crowd control for multiplayer purposes?
So for anyone that doesn't know, Parsec is a way to basically screen share your game and allow them to use their controller to do inputs on your game on your computer remotely. So it's a good way to play like a couch co-op game remotely without having somebody come over your house if it doesn't have online play. You can use it with emulators or anything really for the most part, as long as it's not like a rhythm game. Even then you probably could, but it'd be horrible.
Yeah.
So I've actually seen him do this. And yes, we already have a way for crowd control multiplayer. It's lobbies. And so one of the visions of lobbies that I had. So, well, let me explain about lobbies first, I guess. So there's two types of lobbies. There's race lobbies and there's co-op lobbies. Race lobbies allows two or more people to join that lobby together and have one stream host that content. So let's say xwater's having me and Moni race Super Mario World. Moni would win. But you as a viewer could go to xwater's channel, select who you want to affect on that extension, and send an effect directly to that streamer as opposed to just xwater. Now, co-op lobbies is a way for all three of us to be involved. So xwater could have a co-op lobby, me and Moni could be in it, and any effects that happen to him get trickled down into both me and Moni's stream. Any effects that happen to me can also go back up to xwater or Moni as well. And one of the things I envisioned that streamers would do, because I put no limits on the lobby, is that they would have their viewers also set up crowd control on their computer and join their co-op lobby. So you could have 20 viewers playing Mario 64 at the same time, and you have 20 other viewers that are sending effects into all of your games, and you're all experiencing the same type of effects at the same time. And no one's done that yet, and that'd be amazing to see.
That would be really cool. Yeah, that is a cool idea.
So yeah, I think you want to check out lobbies for sure. I think that really helps open up the multiplayer co-op world.
Yeah, absolutely. I just posted some links on Twitch chat for the videos on how to set up lobbies and what they are. But yeah, co-op lobbies would be already an easy way for your viewers to basically get that same experience without needing to stream. And cool. And then our last question to wrap this up is there anything you're allowed to share about 2.0?
Anything more that I'm allowed to share? Because I've already shared quite a bit.
Maybe we can talk about the things that we've talked about.
Sure. What have we talked about?
We talked about the sound effects per effect.
Yep.
We talked about that. Did we talk about how it hooks up to your printer and literally prints money yet?
So as long as you have the right ink cartridges,
yes,
that's
okay.
the problem. Yeah. Global coins is something we've talked about on the internet. Global coins is a new way for streamers and viewers. Well, really for viewers to get coins. No longer going through Twitch bits exclusively. They will be able to buy coins directly, which help reduce the cost of those coins. So they pay less and get the same or more amount of coins. And you as the streamer make the same or more as well. So it's a really good way for you to just get more out of crowd control. And that's also going to help fuel crowd control on other platforms that we've teased. People keep asking, well, how are you going to do it? They don't have bits. They don't have this. Great. We don't need those. We will still have bits because we recognize that on platform purchases is something that people like to have that's safe and secure and slow friction. But we think global coins are going to be a really big way for this. And the big thing about that is it's not per purchase when you get paid, it's per coins. So you're going to want to have users spending more coins to make more.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mickey.
Oh, I was just gonna add, yeah, global coins are just a win for the viewer and for the streamer. I mean, it's if you're someone who's not on Twitch, that's exciting that, there's prospects of other platform support. B, if you're on Twitch, you're well aware of the, general cost of bits. So if your audience has a way to go off platform and do that exchange, then bingo boingo, the possibilities are endless, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we've already started testing with some users that capability, and we've seen amazing results with how the viewer buying coins behavior has changed. So definitely something that everyone's very excited about. I was gonna say something else. Oh, Yeah. So, and Global Coins being platform independent, it not only enables creators to make some revenue outside of the Twitch ecosystem, which is what they're looking for in times where, Twitch is not sometimes the best place for creator revenue decisions. um,
They're business money, and they need to be able to pay for those servers.
yeah, they need to
Good
be able to pay
old
for
Twitch.
We love
70
Twitch.
30.
But that also enables us to create things like the crowd control partner program, which is something that people have been asking about. So as you know, we do have the ambassador program. The ambassadors, the ambassador program works differently than a partner program because the ambassadors do have a long-term contract with us. It works a little bit different. But by enabling an off-platform revenue source, we are able to implement a program that you're going to be able to apply to, and it's going to be open to everyone to apply that meets certain criteria. And if you use crowd control consistently enough, it shouldn't be anything unachievable. And we know that that's something that users have been looking forward to. So that's something I'm excited about.
Secret's been spilled. Beans are out there. I mean, I don't know unless you guys
I
got any
think
more.
We've talked about those two things, so
Yeah,
I
that's
felt
true.
comfortable with
That's
it.
You're gonna have to wait for the rest.
Yeah, it's not far away though. You're not gonna
True.
have to wait. You're not gonna have to wait a lot. So you should get excited.
Yes.
And that wraps up all of our questions.
Cool. Well, I'm stoked to see how many people came through, asked questions, talked to us, and came along for a little bit of a tutorial there. So we appreciate you all coming out to watch the stream and for supporting crowd control, for being a part of this whole thing. And again, our Discord is open for anyone who ever has any other additional questions. If you want to go in there, recommend games, all sorts of stuff, jump in the Discord, be a part of our community. And yeah, I mean, I got no other final words. Jaku, you got anything else you wanted to leave everyone with?
Is it Friday yet?
No.
End stream. Thank you so much for joining us. As always, join our Discord if you have any other questions or you just want to hang out with awesome people. Discord.crowdcontrol.live, I believe, works. Crowdcontrol.warp or discord.warp.world should work as well. It's in our links and everything. But yeah, thank you so much. Look forward to 2.0. We are working hard to get it all out for you all. And yeah, we can't wait to see more of you use crowd control.
All right.
I rated the wrong
Goodbye
person.
Forever.
Hold on.
Oh, you can't change it.
That's okay. You
I
get the
can.
raid ready. I'm throwing us in
did.
the ending screen. Have a great night, everybody. Farewell.
Bye, everyone. Thank you so much.